Hi folks, and welcome to Women in DevOps, Inclusion and Impact in Fintech. I'm just going to give everyone a chance to get logged in, get settled, grab a cup of coffee or perhaps a glass of wine, depending on where you are in the world. If you are wanting to view live transcript or subtitles today, we have those available too. So in the chat box, next to live in the upper left corner of your screen, you can click view stream on otter.ai, and that's going to give you a transcript as well. Who are just joining us now, and it takes a couple of seconds with the sign up sheet, but we really appreciate you joining us. Welcome to Women in DevOps in partnership with Chime today. I'm just going to give folks a few more minutes to get set up and settled in. Welcome folks to Women in DevOps in partnership with Chime today, which I'm really excited about. We're going to be talking all things inclusion and impact in the fintech. I know it takes a few seconds, and apologies if you were here on time. You've probably heard me say it about 3 times now, but I just want to make sure everyone feels welcomed. If you are just joining us, we do have a transcript, subtitles today. If you can find this live box at the top of your screen, it's going to appear on the upper left this way. You press view stream on os.ai, and you're going to have the transcript option to open tabs there. Thanks for joining us, Dominic. We're in webinar mode today, so participants won't be on camera, but you do have the option to be engaged throughout, both in the chat box, and any questions you have, I'll direct everyone to the Q&A at the start. Give everyone a few more minutes to get logged in and get started. Welcome everybody, great to see a few more signing in. Just giving folks a few more minutes to get signed up, run back from the coffee machine, finish up those 9 AM PST hour-long meetings. I must admit, I do prefer working with people in person, so just stand on stage with a glass of wine, it made it a little bit less awkward. Perfect. And one more time for the people at the back, if you would like transcript and subtitles today, we do have that as an option. It's really easy to set up. You see the live button at the top of your screen, upper left, click view stream, click on it, and click view stream on otter.ai. You have the full subtitles there. So you're hard of hearing or in a scenario where you feel mute, perhaps you're doing this sneakily in a meeting or on a train, you've got your headphones. We love that you're here and love that you can still take part in the conversation. There's 4 minutes past, so we'll get started and hopefully we'll have a few more join. If you are watching this on YouTube, welcome. Thank you for joining us here today. Still, please get involved, stay to the end. There's going to be some great Q&A and an opportunity to reach out to both Chime, Women in DevOps and the panelists on a number of different forums. So whether you're live or on YouTube, thank you and welcome to Women in DevOps. It is our October edition of Women in DevOps 2021. We're now 18 months into webinars, and I'm pleased to say they're here to stay based on such fantastic feedback. I'm really excited today because we're exclusively partnering with the team at Chime. I'm going to hand you over to Chime in one moment. Now, before I do that, we have a couple of polls. We'd love to hear from you, so please take the time to get involved with our polls today. It will help shape our Q&A. It's also going to help us shape what we launch next. as part of the Women in DevOps continuing global movement. If you have been to Women in DevOps before, welcome back. You know exactly what to expect, which is raw, engaging, honest conversation around inclusion, impact, advocated for underrepresented groups, and building a global community within the DevOps and tech space. If you haven't been to Women in DevOps before, welcome. We are so pleased to have you here. Whether you are diverse yourself, you're an ally, we are so glad that you found us and that you want to contribute to what is such an important movement and voice. And the biggest, warmest welcome to the team at Chime. So we're very lucky to have Chime here today. They are a partner of ours at Women in DevOps, and they have been for all of 2021, with the lovely Shalini Jackson, who's an engineering manager at Chime, and she's going to be chairing our event today. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Shannon, who's going to give you a fantastic introduction to Chime, what Chime are up to, and then she's going to introduce our panel. So I'm going to see you all at the end for a wrap up. Keep an eye on the chat box, keep an eye on the Q&A box. There's going to be a ton of links for you to keep following this journey off and online, which is what we are all about. And Shannon, I will hand over to you to introduce our amazing panel today to discuss inclusion and impact in fintech.
Great, thank you, Lauren. So just a quick reminder, if anyone wants any questions for the Q&A, please use the Q&A tab, not the chat, because that's what we'll be referencing when we go to those questions. But feel free to use the chat to interact with each other as much as you'd like. So like Lauren said, my name is Shannon Jackson. I'm an engineering manager with engineering ops at Chime. And I'm going to do a quick intro to Chime and what we're doing and what we're about to give everyone a little bit of extra context for what we're going to talk about today. So I'm on slide 15. That's not where I want to be. So we're Chime. We're a challenger bank that is completely virtual. Our mission is to help our members achieve financial peace of mind. So what does that mean? Most of Americans struggle to make ends meet. 78% are living paycheck to paycheck, and Chime is here specifically to help those Americans. The banking in the US is a huge strain on many Americans, and banks make billions of dollars a year through unnecessary fees and charges. So through our services, Chime provides a couple of things to help those people out. We provide our members with early access to their money, overdraft protection through our Spot Me feature, all of this with no hidden fees. And we also help people build up their credit score. So Credit Builder is our latest product that members use to do that. It looks, feels, and acts like a credit card, but it's effectively a spending account. And whatever you set aside is ultimately your credit limit on that card. And then that way Chime doesn't put anyone into debt, and we automatically pay off your credit card in full each month with what you put aside. So on the back end, that's going to help you build your credit score. But if we're talking about all these features, none of those would be possible without the people who work here at Chime. At Chime, we embody these 8 core values. I'm not going to go over all of them. I'm just going to point out some of my favorites. So member obsessed, since our core demographic are those Americans living paycheck to paycheck, it's important that we understand their needs and build a product that aligns to them. We also love to collaborate. That's the chiming in. And we're nothing without empathy. So that being human, the upside down smiley, is all about connecting with each other and our members. And it's been really instrumental to our success so far. If we're talking about connection, we always want to bring up our CRGs, which are our Chime resource groups, where our Chimers team up with each other. We believe in having an inclusive and equitable environment. And so we have groups like Diversichime, Chimehers, Chimeagos, OutChime, Chimmigrants, AfroChime. We actually, not all of them are on this list. Recently, we added Pacifichime, which is to serve our AAPI community at Chime. And these groups, they plan events throughout the year to empower Chimers and ensure that their voices are being heard throughout the organization. We're also really active in all of our communities. So through COVID, we gave all of our members early access to their stimulus checks last year. And with Black Lives Matter, we donated $250,000 to the Equal Justice Initiative. Another community program we had was to partner with the rapper 21 Savage to bring financial literacy programs to America's youth. We are also a sponsor for the Dallas Mavericks, and we partnered with them and the Mavs Foundation to raise over $100,000 to fight systemic oppression and racial inequality. We created Chime In for Changemakers to celebrate and give over $50,000 to people making a difference in their communities. But we take care of our chimers too. It's been a really rough couple of years. And so some examples are we've given mental health resources through Modern Health. We have a quarterly work from home stipend so people can feel more comfortable as we're distributed teams. And we have take care of yourself days, which are extra days off for everyone, usually a Friday or a Monday. And you can use that day to do whatever you need in order to just reset yourself. And tying back to creating those inclusive environments, we partnered with a third-party company called The Ready Set to drive allyship workshops. We made Juneteenth a Forever Chime holiday, and every 4 years we give all of our American chimers time off to vote. And then in addition to all that, we have the benefits of being a chimer. So 401k, unlimited PTO, healthcare, and more of that. So if you are sparked by any of the conversations that we have today and you want to talk to someone about what it'd be like to join Chime, I'm going to give you some resources there. We'll share all of these resources with you. I really want to point out the Life at Chime blog, which is what it's like to be a chimer working here and some of the things that we're working on. And we also have a new engineering blog, which we launched this year, which talks more about what it's like to be an engineer at Chime and some of the cool things we're doing. But if you want to talk to somebody, careers@chime.com is the email that you can reach out to, and it will connect you with someone who can talk about anything that we talked about today or what it would be like for you to join our team. So with that quick little intro to everything that we did, let's introduce our panelists. Shine, do you want to introduce yourself and what you do at Chime?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Shine Garg. I am a staff software engineer here at Chime. I am in the engineering services team, which is usually the platform team, I would say, according to the industry, under the fearless leadership of Mike Barrett. A lot of my work at Chime is focused on the future of Chime architecture, as well as providing technical guidance and perspective to the myriad of projects that are underway. Prior to Chime, I have had a long career delivering distributed systems at scale at a few other places. In the last decade or so, I have been a dedicated practitioner of mindfulness meditation, and that has also deeply informed my perspective on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Outside of work, I like to read, I like to write, I like to cook, go on hikes recreationally. Very excited to be here.
Great. Ingrid, why don't you go next?
Hi, I'm Ingrid Avendano, and I'm a senior software engineer on the developer experience team, which is also part of engineering services. I've been at Chime since January. My manager is actually Shalini, which is also here as well. And a little bit about me, I've been in tech for a while. I've worked for companies like Netflix and Uber. I actually care a lot about mental health and how it impacts tech workers, and also got really big into sailing. So that's my other big thing, that I really love sailing. And my team, because we do developer experience, we also work with Kubernetes, and I really like all of the sailing puns that also exist there.
Beautiful. Karishma, why don't you go next?
Sure, thank you. My name is Karishma Dambe. I'm senior data engineering manager in data org, also in engineering services. A bit about me, I've been working in Chime more than a year now. It's an interesting journey. Before Chime, I've been working on mostly leading the data engineering and data infrastructure teams. Outside of the work, mostly I like to spend time with my family, my dog and my daughter, and go on the trips, mostly national parks. I love them, the nature beauty, and that's about me. Thank you.
Great. Shalini, why don't you go next?
Hey everyone, my name is Shalini Kudali. I joined Chime just about 2 months ago, so probably the youngest here on the panel. Oh no, Shannon and I joined on the same day, so yes. And it's been wonderful so far. I've been learning a lot, and I love the team that Chime is. Before Chime, I was with a company called RV, and I've been mostly involved in the DevOps arena for about 5-6 years. Originally started as a developer, backend developer, and the shift into being a DevOps engineer has been interesting and fulfilling.
And Michael Barrett, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey everybody. I'm Mike Barrett, VP of Engineering Services. I get to work with all these wonderful ladies. I've been at Chime for just a year and a half. It hasn't been that long. It's funny because when we talk about Chime, the amount of growth we've had, it's not a lot of people have been here for more than a year and a half. So it's amazing to see how we've grown. I was born in Alaska. I've been in tech for about 20 years. Currently live in San Francisco with my wife and my dog, and I'm really into cooking, board games, traveling. Really excited about the partnership with Women in DevOps. This has been long in the making, and so I'm really excited we've been able to do this today and be on this panel with everybody. And then, fun coincidence, today is actually my mother's birthday, so I got to have a happy call her and say happy birthday this morning with my wife and tell her that I was doing this today. She doesn't really know what DevOps is. I've tried to explain it to her over my career, but it's just she doesn't. It's fine. She's like, it's the computer stuff. Keep doing it. And so, but she's always been a huge supporter of me. She actually bought me my first suit for my first interview at a tech company. I never wore it to the interview because they wouldn't let me, but yeah, she's always been really supportive. So
that is so cute. And I'm Shannon Jackson. Like they said, I'm going to be leading the panel. I work for our engineering operations team, which is under the umbrella of engineering services. It's a new team at Chime, but it's also a pretty new discipline within the industry. And we're under, as my manager likes to put it, instead of software delivery, our team practices culture delivery. So we drive initiatives which support the happiness, effectiveness, and efficiency of engineers and engineering managers at Chime. So our interviewing processes, our mentorship processes, that's all falling under our umbrella. I'm originally a Ruby backend engineer and an engineering manager for several companies. And yeah, I joined in August with Shalini. So I'm newer, our department is newer, but I'm really excited for what we're going to do at Chime. So let's get started with some of our questions. And just a reminder, if anyone has any questions they want us to address later, to put that in the Q&A tab. That's where we'll be looking in a little bit. So we talked a little bit about some of our professional journeys, but I'm wondering if anyone wants to talk about specifically why they wanted to join Chime or why they wanted to join Fintech in general.
I can go. That's okay.
Go ahead.
Bye, Jackie.
Chime just came along at the right time. We are really lucky to be in an industry where we can choose the kind of place we want to go to, especially now. And, why not do what you enjoy while making somebody else's life a little better? That's the message I got, when the recruiter reached out to me. And Chime's mission really resonated with me. And I've been with Chime, as I said, for 2 months, and it has not disappointed.
Karishma, do you want to chime in too?
Yeah, I think what Shalini said is totally, that's the kind of message I also got when I interviewed with Chime. It was such a noble cause, and I have worked the last 20 years in software industry. And the first thought was, I never got to give back what I got back to the community, and here is my chance. And that is one thing which really made me take this challenge. And definitely the work also was challenging, which I was really looking forward to. But I think this was a very good noble cause, which I felt I cannot leave this opportunity.
Wonderful. Ingrid, did you want to add something too?
Yeah, I was going to say that Chime has meant a lot to me because when I was looking at all these different companies of, where did I want to go next in my career? Honestly, like learning about Fintech was like a big blind spot for me. I started the industry actually kind of in a weird place where I was couch surfing and technically homeless, and also getting dinged a bunch by my bank for getting that negative like $20 every time I overdrafted. And so I honestly joined the tech industry because I was like, I think this is a place I can make money. And this is a big deal because I think now I'm able to like work on an actual tool for a company that is helping people who are in the position I was before I even joined the industry to have tools that I'm like, I wish this existed. And this is really useful for a lot of people that I know.
Yeah, there's a lot of new feature announcements and things where I'm just in in the Slack channel being like, where was this for me like 15 years ago? I feel that same way. And I really like that I'm able to sort of give back in that way that that I needed, like be the person that you needed when you were younger. Shine, did you want to chime in on this one too?
Oh, +1 to what everyone else said. Yeah, I don't think I have anything new here. Thank you.
Yeah, so for the people who are more, the more veterans of the group, how do you think the industry has changed since you joined it? Either the tech industry or fintech or DevOps, any of the three? I
mean, one of the things that I've noticed, I've been in the industry for over 20 years, and one of the things I've noticed is I love the it's not even feeling new these days, but it's becoming more put out there, is this idea of work-life balance really being important. When when I started, it was like the people who like your job was tech, your hobbies were tech, and I feel like we lost out on a lot of stuff there at that time. And so I think it's really important, especially seeing how the last year and a half, 2 years has gone. Like suddenly you're like, oh yeah, I need some stuff outside of sitting in front of this computer. And so that's been really exciting and good to see.
I can add a little bit. So I would say just from a technology standpoint, there has been a big push towards data engineering, AI, ML to build intelligence. Almost every app out there has some intelligence built into it. But I would say the biggest changes have been on the front of virtualization. With the advent of virtualization, now platform as a service is possible, AWS, GCP, Azure, and that has really lowered the barrier to entry. Now anyone can write an application and bring it to the market. So that is sort of one side of it. The other side of it is now, because of massive online courses, Udemy, Coursera, even dev boot camps, software engineering is no longer as esoteric and exclusive as it used to be. People from non-traditional backgrounds, it's much easier for them to come in, teach themselves, and then make an impact on the industry. And with that, the hiring managers now are a lot more open to hiring these people as opposed to degrees from top schools or whatever. And because of all that, I would say there is a much larger conversation about diversity and inclusion. Panels like these were simply not on the table 10 years ago. And now we are here talking about it. And I'm incredibly excited where all of this goes.
Yeah, I was very excited when Courtney Clavin, who is the person on Chime's side who organized this panel, this is not everyone who could have been on the panel. We had she was able to reach out to many people and then, sort of whittle it down, as opposed to, I think, even 5 years ago, where it would have been pulling teeth to get 4 panelists, someone from leadership and a moderator all in the same room that fit the bill as well as we do. So let's go into some individual questions. I'm going to ask the first one to Shalini. You mentioned in your bio that you used to be scared of the ops stuff. What experiences changed your mindset, and how would you encourage other engineers to embrace new challenges?
Yeah, I started in this industry about 20 years ago, and I was a backend developer. And I loved what I did. I loved the actual coding to be, and I was thinking I was really solving complex problems. Even a few years ago, while I was working in Raytheon, I remember finishing up a feature, having it buddy checked, and then merging the code in, and that's it, right? Like the operations team took over it, and after a few, maybe a day or so, they'd say, okay, make sure your feature works on this, some other QA side, and that's it. I really didn't know what was happening after that. From there, I moved into a smaller company where I was fortunate enough to come in contact with a DevOps lead who said, it's okay, go, you have to do this. You need to know what really is out there. And coming into AWS and really experiencing everything that you could go from writing code to actually deploying, and having somebody else experience what you've written was wonderful. And the thing was, what was scary was really easy. It's really comfortable to just sit and do what you're good at. And that's where I sat for a long time. Once you was pushed, once you got to a place where like, okay, I really don't care if I don't know. I'm just going to go out there and do it. And that's what you had to, right? And that's what I say, try and do something that's uncomfortable as much as possible. Every time you need to think outside of your comfort zone is where you're going to grow. And I've just embraced that. It's like every week I got to do something that's not something that I'm comfortable with.
I love that. Part of my my pillar in engineering operations is our interviewing and recruiting and our job descriptions and those sorts of things. And there's this wonderful statistic that women and gender nonconforming people usually wait until they reach 100% of the postings requirements, and men who have sort of dominated the industry usually will apply if they reach 60%. So that desire to only do what you know you're good at and staying in that lane is really expanding that is great advice. Let's go over to Karishma. You lead one of our data engineering teams. What does adversity, how does the adversity that you've experienced in your career impact your leadership style today?
I think great question. A bit hard to answer too, but I'm going to give my best try to make it more positive for the people so they can get the learning experience what I had. When I started my career, specifically in data, which is 10 years ago, this was a very new industry. Back in 2009, MapReduce was just launched. One of the team was actually writing something parallel to the MapReduce. But as I started growing into that career and leading the teams, one of the biggest thing I faced was I did not have a freedom to really make a lot of decisions, rather than decisions, what I wanted to do. The ownership was missing somewhere. And that's when I felt it is really important for me to grow, my teams to grow, and org to really get what they need to get out of us. That's when I think that has been a biggest pillar of my leadership style, which is essentially freedom and responsibility. I strongly do believe, given a freedom, every individual will give their best, and you will see amazing differences. And I think that's the biggest learning of my career when I work with my team. The second thing also, somewhere the learning I had was value the people who value you. I think that's the biggest learning I had. I think that goes upward, downwards, horizontal, vertical, you can say anywhere. That has been I've been always successful, or I have seen people, either women or anyone else, being successful when they've been really valued. Valued here, I mean, respect their opinions, respect their diversity. I think when folks really do see that, they go above and beyond to help you, your teams, organizations and company. And I think that's been a really, really biggest lessons what I faced throughout my career. And I really do advise all engineers over here that always follow what you believe in, definitely, but also follow the people who really value you, because definitely you're going to be successful there.
Love talking to the leadership at Chime, because the empathy that comes out of those meetings is just like completely edge case in tech. And so every time I've interacted with any leader here, listening to them talk about the human aspects of leadership is just so comforting. So let's talk about imposter syndrome, which is not a phrase that I particularly like, because it kind of implies that there is an imposter. And I know that everyone, especially on this panel, we're in the positions we're in because of the work that we've done, but I know that we've all felt it. So this is an Ingrid specific question. Can you tell us about your own personal experience as a female engineer in a male dominated industry and how you've overcome it?
Yeah, it's funny, when I first started the industry, I felt like a huge imposter. And I remember at the time, I kind of made a pivot. I I grew up with family of artists, and I thought I would just be an artist. And when I started doing engineering, I had no idea where to start off and felt really lost and also very behind from many of my peers. And so I tried to spend a lot of time investing, like understanding engineering in the context of things I enjoyed. And so at that time, I started like through art and then through any hobbies, and then like building websites that I thought were fun for myself or friends. And this slowly like changed into like, if I'm gonna, set up my terminal, I'm gonna make it really fun for myself. And over time, I started having people come to me and ask me questions, and that really helped. And I started learning that like, the way I kind of got good at things was teaching others. And I remember at one point, someone was like, wow, you're just really good at this. And me being like, I don't know anything. And they were like, no, really, you're really good at this. And they're like, can you just, talk about this? And there's like, I remember this is the first time I heard imposter syndrome too, that I joked and I was like, well, if I totally identify with imposter syndrome, and I must be a really good imposter then as well. And so, I think that's kind of one of the things that I started to recognize, that a lot of people feel this way. And one of the best ways that I found to be really effective for myself and for others is that like just being really human and being okay with that, like asking questions. And when people feel nervous, like letting them know, like, it's okay. Like we're all in this to learn together. Like some of the technology that we are working and learning about didn't exist a few years ago. Like nobody is expected to be an expert right away. And I think when you start to like realize that everyone's coming to the table trying to do their best, or, some days people just like are confused and don't know, like that's okay. And making people comfortable with that really helps like break the ice and make it easier to just like start solving the problems and get to things that get people excited.
Yeah. Let's also talk to Shine. So to follow up with Ingrid, you might have also experienced imposter syndrome throughout your career. Can you tell us your experience with it and advice you would give other engineers on how to work through it?
Yeah, for sure. So as Ingrid said, everyone has experienced imposter syndrome to some degree. I certainly have. The irony here is that it's such a ubiquitous human experience, to have self-doubt, to feel insufficient about ourselves. And yet it can be so isolating, gone unchecked. It can be very crippling. It can really become a roadblock to success and fulfillment in one's life. So, there is that saying, what cannot be cured has to be endured. I would say a lot more empowering way of looking at it is what cannot be cured can be managed. And how we manage it makes all the difference in this case. Intellectually, the key insight for me was to shift my focus from knowledge to learning. At the root of my imposter syndrome was this misconception that I simply did not know enough. But when I inquired more deeply, two questions emerged. One was, well, how much is enough? There is no quantifiable unit to measure knowledge, last I checked. And then the second thing was, well, do I have to know enough? The ecosystem that we work in is so vast that it's not a possible human endeavor to know everything. That's just not going to happen. I have certainly been in positions where I was tasked with something I had no idea about. But then I read up, I learned, and I figured it out, and it was an exhilarating process. So if I could shift my focus from knowledge to learning, and therefore the potential that I carry for my employer, then I am no longer a victim of how much I know. After all, in this line of work, constant learning is the rite of passage anyway, and I'm just committed to doing that. And then there is the emotional side of it. So the way the human mind works is that when we are afraid of something, we are totally hijacked. The mind just shuts down. All logic and reason is out the window. And the next thing we know is that we start to fear the fear itself and not so much the underlying thing that is triggering the fear. So what I did there was, well, I gave myself permission to fully feel everything that imposter syndrome was bringing up, all the feelings and all the emotions, the lowest lows. And that can look different things for different people, you know. It can be embarrassment before coworkers over not knowing enough. It can be hesitation in speaking up in meetings. It can be some genuine long-term worry about the career. Oh, what's going to happen to me if I don't know this or that? But over time, these emotions became less powerful. They lost their power over me. And now I am at a place where instead of hating it or being afraid of it, I just know that this is a familiar script that runs in my mind when certain triggers take place. And now I can say, oh, hi, imposter syndrome, you're back. Thank you for visiting. Sit in that corner. I'm just not going to entertain you. I am just going to, you know, live my life. And that's been very transformative in that regard. The last thing I want to say is that what also feeds imposter syndrome is not seeing enough people like me at the workplace. But working at a place like Chime, we have at least one other staff, female engineer. We have all these other fabulous ladies here on the panel. We have a director of engineering that's female. We have a female VP of engineering. That's a great reminder that I too have a seat at the table. And, you know, I belong here. It's an incredibly supportive environment. So yeah, that's my exploration of imposter syndrome. Thank you for giving me the space to talk about it at length.
Yeah. I love hearing from senior and staff level engineers too, like admitting that even they feel the imposter syndrome, because I think a lot of times it's brought up in terms of like juniors and those like early career people, but it's persistent throughout. And I think that giving voice to that is really a way to empower those people to know that it is not about you and your skill set. Michael Barrett made a really good point in the chat. One of our other chimers, whose name is Teen, has been doing a presentation about making your organization less likely to breed imposter syndrome. It's a great talk. There's a copy on YouTube from when she presented at the Chicago Women in Tech Conference. She's also presenting it again at AfroChime late in November. So there's a little bit more information in the chat if you want to watch that. It's very helpful, both from an individual perspective and also as from leaders to say, how can we address these sorts of issues in our organization? Which is actually a great segue. Let's talk to Michael Barrett. You are on the panel as an ally. Do you think enough is done to help women get into the tech industry and the fintech industry? If not, what would you recommend?
I mean, I think more is done, but I don't think enough. I don't know what enough actually looks like what enough will be, but it's definitely not enough. I think, you know, there's a few things. First is just putting its effort. We've got to like put the effort in. And I think a big part of that is making sure that we're promoting women into leadership positions. You know, it's hard to be what you haven't seen before. And so the more often we can do that, it just makes it easier for people to see, yes, there's a path there. So I think that's really important. I mentioned work-life balance before. I think promoting work-life balance is a big part of this. It's helpful. The changes that the industry is going through right now with work from home, distributed work, remote work, whatever you want to call it, I think it presents a lot of awesome opportunities and also a lot of challenges, you know, particularly both for women in general. Like having flexibility in your work schedule is a really great thing. And it also, if you're working from home, a lot of times, you know, I know that the household duties are often shared unfairly, but more with the women in the household. And so being at home could be a little bit more of a challenge. Something that I hope that we can, you know, that we'll continue to work through and make more awesome for everybody. And it's just, I'm actually really, really hopeful for it. And then the other thing, and I think this has been mentioned before, is putting the effort and resources into alternate ways into tech. I myself did not go to school I actually went to school for like 2 weeks for tech, and then there was IT classes, really the only class that was available to me at the time at the school I was at. It did not go well. I did not enjoy it. So I left, and I was lucky enough that, you know, there were opportunities for me to get into tech, but I think we need to continue to do that with things like just all sorts of ways outside of just traditional learning. Boot camps are awesome. Looking for people with just different backgrounds. I think that's going to be really important to make this happen. I also wanted to talk about the imposter syndrome thing. it does affect like everybody. It seems like myself, I've dealt with it my whole career. I'm certain it comes from, you know, the fact that I did not come up with the traditional tech, you know, I didn't go to school for it. But you know, the things that Shine said were really awesome around it. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, imposter syndrome is a terrible bully, and it will find any reason to tell you that you are an imposter. If you are a woman, if you are gender nonconforming, if you don't have the traditional background, if you have an accent, like anything that it can latch onto. And unfortunately, another feature of it is that it's like, well, everyone else, it's not true, but it's definitely true for me, which is a really insidious way for it to get in there. Just a reminder, if anyone has any questions, to put them in the Q&A tab. And if not, I will continue to ask my questions, because I love to have all these people in a room to ask things of them. So let's go back to talking about Chime. We are a rapidly growing company. For anyone who's been at Chime for more than a year, what are the biggest changes that you've seen within Chime, either in the engineering org or in general, and what it really excites you for our road ahead?
I can jump into this one. And again, I don't like it's the biggest thing is like just the amount of growth. The fact that there are so few people that have been here for more than a year is wild. I think I don't even remember the number, but we've easily doubled more than that in the past year, and it's been crazy. The growth is amazing alone. In that time, we've also moved from using rack space to moving into the cloud, just from a pure technology standard. And it's been awesome to see how much of a lever that's been for Chime and making our engineering organization just more productive. Like the number of services we've scaled up in that time is, I think we've just like blown away anything that we did before in the entire life of Chime, just since the time we moved into AWS. It's many times over. And then also, it's been awesome seeing engineering services form. This team didn't exist a year and a half ago when I started. It didn't start because I started. Like I originally, it was infrastructure and platform, but eventually this just sort of Chime started to see there was a reason to invest in this sort of an organization, which is really about making all of engineering more engaged, more productive, make sure that they're learning from like day -1 to which day -1 I say because interviewing, right? Shannon specifically is really working on our interviewing, making it so it's as awesome as it can be for all levels. But all the way to, you know, the moment when an engineer leaves Chime to go on to their next awesome opportunity, you know, we really want them to leave going like, oh man, that's the like company to beat. Like my next role is going to like be, they don't have this feature, they don't have this, is going to be awesome. But we really want them to succeed and that their time here and really feel that when they leave. So.
Yeah, I think when Michael, so I've been here more than a year. Yeah, we joined engineering services team. And one of the things I felt now, since this question came to my mind, I just started, it's a journey. I started thinking about a 1 year. Seems like a long, definitely interesting and challenging, lot of growth. I was 300 employee probably, now we have more than 1,000 employees. So we grew 3 times. I think what I see quite a lot of good shift in the way Chime thinks about it is empowerment. I think in the technology services, I think whole engineering services is all about empowering others, empowering Chime and Chimers to, like my team is making data-driven decisions. Platform team empowering developers, having good platform availability. I think that shift we are seeing quite a lot, even to that empowering our members for good financial life. So I think we, as company maturing, I'm seeing that a huge shift of everybody thinking about empowering others, which is a very important thing when you grow in this scale. I think it's really important. I felt at least, and it was really, really helpful to see and definitely experience that how whole company is geared towards empowering others. And that shift is amazing to see.
Yeah, so let's use that to sort of segue into another question. So like I said in my presentation, our mission is to make financial peace of mind a reality for everyone. in what ways do you see Chime doing that work, and what the work that you do contributing to making that mission come true? Shine or Shalini, would one of you want to chime in on this one?
Sure. For how I see our team, the DevX team, making that impact, is we're a central team. For us, we're not directly connected to Chime members, but what we do is so important because we're making sure that developers who are connected, like the engineers who are doing the features, who are developing the things that are needed to make a Chime's members' life easier, get to do that in an environment that's, really awesome. I think Michael was saying, if an engineer leaves Chime and goes to another place, we should have a developer experience tool or a process that they will miss. And they're going to say, oh my God, my job is so much harder because I'm not at Chime, because I can't do these kind of things. That's how I see my job, my team's job, is to make every developer just have this amazing experience doing their job.
Shine, did you have something to add to that too?
Basically, I would say, so as an IC, yes, everything that Shalini said echoes with me. My work specifically contributes to, in some ways, modernizing the Chime architecture, making sure that we have increased availability so that we are up when the members actually need us, to make sure that we have higher engineering velocity so that we can ship code faster with greater confidence. My specific work is also focused on introducing streaming at Chime, which then allows us to build intelligence into our apps and then, better help members in real time as they are interacting with the app. And then the other side of my work is I on my own can only produce so much code and do so much work, but as a force multiplier, as someone who helps bring together a group of teams, a group of cross-functional teams to deliver a complex project, I am helping other people realize their fullest potential and do much more than I single-handedly would be able to do. And then, of course, I weigh in on a lot of the design and technology implementations that are underway at Chime, from making sure we are aligned, we are managing enterprise risk, we are making investments that are worthwhile. And that's how I see it's, again, kind of indirect to the point that Shalini made, but it is important to keep the company going and working towards a common goal and helping our members unlike ever before.
Also, I think I would add on to that, just yesterday, I believe, we rolled out the first stream to the new streaming platform that Shine was really instrumental in designing. So it's awesome to see. It's a huge amount, it's a huge team effort, and it's going to be amazing. It's so cool watching it, just seeing it live.
Okay, and we have time for, I think, one more of our questions. So a lot of the people who are historically excluded from tech suggest that mentorship has been really instrumental in their careers and growth and getting them into the industry. Have any of you had mentors throughout your career, and how have they helped you? Or what suggestions would you have for people looking for mentors, for what to look for in those people?
I can talk about this. One of my mentors actually recommended Chime because of the community that Chime has. And I think that's one of the things that I look for in mentors, is a wide variety of skills, and not that a mentor has to have all those skills together, but I have people that I go to about technical stuff that I can get challenged on, and they'll help me kind of figure out what's something that I'm missing, or an area to look into, or something I'm not seeing correctly. And that's really helpful. And then there are people that challenge me on networking and how to kind of reach outside of my comfort zone at times when I'm not wanting to do something, or really can understand how the industry works and how to navigate that. And I think that's something that there isn't really a good book that you can hand someone and be like, this is all the solutions. It's usually a lot of experience that you can pass on through others. And I think on top of that, it's also to, mentorship can go two ways. There have been people that have mentored me that later I got really good at something and was able to help mentor them in something. And so it's really, honestly, it's really helpful to build a network of mentors, and even you might pass on a mentor to somebody else over time.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of thought about like mentors having to be more senior than you, or even like just actually older than you. But even having like peer-to-peer mentorship when I was a junior developer, just straight out of boot camp, all of the women who graduated from my boot camp that year stayed together and were working on resumes and advice, and some were working for Fortune 50 companies, some were working for small startups, and those different experiences, I think, really helped all of us grow. It's really about just getting more perspectives and also finding people who can help you get an in or help you grow with their experience.
At previous companies, I've played a part in coaching circles for managers, and management can often feel a little lonely, I've seen. And so what coaching circles were a way for managers to get together from across the organization. They usually build these small teams, and they'd spend a lot of time with each other every 2 weeks talking about their problems and becoming, vulnerable. And like the idea was less, it was really sort of what Shannon was saying, is that like it's easier to fix problems when you have more people thinking about them, especially more perspectives. And so building mentors can just be your support circle, building something like that where you have people that you can chat with. I still have people that I worked with, way back at Ironport who I chat with all the time, and some who are VPs of engineering, directors of engineering, and we talk about leadership problems we're having and stuff like that. And it's been really, really helpful.
All right. Well, it looks like we don't have any open questions in the chat. So I think we can wrap up. Just a reminder, careers@chime.com is the email address. If anything that we talked about sparked anything in you and you wanted to reach out to us, look at our engineering blog and our Life at Chime blog to sort of find out some of the cool things that we're working on and doing. And yes, and I think Chime on LinkedIn is also a great place to connect. We post a lot of articles there, both about what we're doing and ways that we're helping out with the community and getting some more inclusivity into tech.
Perfect. Well, Shannon and the entire team at Chime, thank you so much. That was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. Before I wrap up, does anyone have something to add? No? Perfect. Well, look, I really appreciate on a personal level, I mean, I made a ton of notes, especially around imposter syndrome, and actually I think you made some really interesting points around the mentorship, because I've been looking for a mentor myself here in Los Angeles, and I think I automatically have been going to folks who are older than me, who are in those like senior director sort of levels, and actually I hadn't really thought about looking at peer-to-peer mentorship at all. So I'm definitely going to take that away. If anyone in this panel really resonated with anything that anyone said, are you happy for folks to get in touch and maybe drop you a message on LinkedIn?
Definitely.
Excellent.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, perfect. Because you all have such a wealth of experience and can clearly contribute so much, and as a community we're really lucky to have all of your time and influence and advice. So Shalini, you're a fantastic host as well. I really enjoyed your round of applause for Shalini. I really enjoyed your chairperson energy, which was lovely. Of course,
I'm putting that on my LinkedIn now, chairperson energy.
Do it, you should. So yeah, folks, for all those when you're live on YouTube or found this recording in the deepest, darkest internet, we are really lucky to have you, and thank you so much for joining. I should mention this at the start of it, but I was so excited to introduce Chime. We have now been running since April 2017, and from a very small pub in London, our first event was me and 10 others. We are now a collective of over 8,000 community members globally. and now having webinars with the likes of Chime. So what a journey we've been on. And now, as we've talked about, it's not just about women, it's about looking at intersectional diversity at all levels and all angles now globally, and working with brilliant partners like Chime. I hope my boss doesn't hear this, but you're hiring for any recruiters at Chime? Because after hearing what you said today, it just sounds like such a fantastic environment for absolutely everybody. So if you are looking for a new role, there's lots of links. I can see that Courtney and some of the other talent team at Chime put some great links, so check those out. If you're not following Women in DevOps on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, our website, Meetup, all the latest events, please do make sure you go and do that. And please join us for the next event. And if we don't see you before the last Thursday of the month in October, when our next event is, I hope to see you on social media. Don't forget, we are on and offline, here advocating for all voices in tech. And thank you all to our lovely panelists once again, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much for
Bye,
having us.
everyone. I'll stay
Thank
on
you.
here for a few minutes so everyone has the opportunity to